speed equals distance, right? Or so we're told. This is a TechDisc and it measures spin, hyzer, and most importantly, speed. So I'm going to find out for sure by throwing different speeds and seeing how that translates to real world distance.
So in the words of Mark Watney,
let's sign out of this.
So here's my plan. At each speed, we're going to throw into the net with a TechDisc to nail down the speed. Then we'll throw for real to the side of the net, aiming to replicate that speed. I'll then confirm that I hit the correct speed with TechDisc. And finally, I'll go record the distance with a rangefinder. These are all the speeds I'm going to be throwing at. And here's the caveats. So there's plenty of scope for future vids. Let me know what you want me to try next. So let's get on with it. This is 20. So the reason we started at 20 is we did try 10, but it felt like a really slow putt, so I didn't think it was really worth including in the video. So this is 15 meters for 20 miles per hour.
That felt so slow. That was 35, okay, so even slower than that.
So as we see later, some of these speeds I struggled to get to.
Yep, 29.8.
And not because I can't throw fast enough, but because it's tricky to throw to a specific speed.
25 meters.
So here's where things start getting interesting. It turns out it's pretty hard to throw at 40 miles per hour.
38, I'll do.
So the first throw was perfect.
35.9 for 40 meters.
I just couldn't repeat it. So back to the net.
That's got to be at least 40.
It was.
Okay, so a little bit more wrist. So that one was 49 meters for a 40 mile per hour throw. Yeah, let's see if we can hit 50 now.
Do you remember how the last speed started?
48.1, pretty much in the ballpark.
It was just like this. Well, different problems.
So 50 mile an hour was 65 meters with a tree hit. So we're going to do that one again just to make sure. Literally hit the same tree. We'll scrap that one.
Luckily, it was worth the wait.
That one went miles. I did put a bit more ante on it, but we'll go measure it just to see. So 100 meters for about 50 miles an hour, not too shabby.
So if you thought 40 was hard, 55 was impossible?
That's got to be close. Apparently that's a 49. 51. 50. Guess I got to start putting a bit more beans in it now. Well, that was too many beans. That's 65. 52. Okay, so I think if I do one time like that, it should be pretty close to 55.
Thank goodness for that. Little spoiler, it was pretty damn close.
That one's got to be so much further. So that was 140 apparently. A lot of wind now as well. You can decide whether this is a fair test or not. Okay, let's try and hit 60. That was a nice rip. Okay, we can work with that. I think I was further than the other ones.
It was definitely a windy day.
Right, that was just like shy of 60. I ranged it at 131. I think the last one may have been a little bit wrong. Maybe 120 on the last one. Definitely about another 10 meters onwards from that. Okay, let's try some max speed ones. Cap out about 65, 70. So we'll see if I can hit some of those. That one felt good. There we go, 65.7. Try and do another one. I'm not sure about that one. Oh, 65.3. All right, let's see if we can whack one out in the field then. Oh. Okay, I have a plan. It's the last one I slipped when I was going. I think it's because the grass is a bit muddy and stuff. Got this little tee pad here, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna throw one in the net, and then I'm gonna push the net over, and then we're gonna launch from there and see what happens. Yeah, I slipped a bit then, but I think that was a good throw. 58.1 is what it is. Unleash the beast. Ooh.
Now whilst it sounded good, the launch angle was so low, so it basically didn't go anywhere. So I'm going to redo this one.
Ooh. I ripped that one. Not a crazy launch angle, but I think that went far. Whee. I ranged it at 145 meters.
So kind of interesting to see TechDisc get the distance and flight path almost right, you know, within 10 meters. Now, this video is definitely not sponsored, but TechDisc did upgrade my account to premium, and it's genuinely helped making this video so much easier. And going forward in terms of upgrading my form, it's actually so helpful being able to see the videos of my best throws like this one. Now, you're probably waiting for the stats, so let's break it down. Yeah, it's not that crazy. So yeah, as speed increases, so does distance. But I'd say there's definitely a difference between the low speeds and the higher speeds. It's definitely not quite linear. So maybe what we can say is that at the higher end, making a smaller gain in speed has more of an impact on distance than making a bigger gain in the lower speeds. So let me know what you think this means. I may have interpreted this wrong. So here's a few more fun stats. This is what happens with spin as you increase the speed. And interestingly, it mirrors the distance one more or less exactly. So make of that what you will. Also, here's a few variables I was trying to keep constant, but I'm sure there's plenty of ways to make this test a lot more fair.
So I know what you're thinking, you don't tend to throw distance drivers at really low speeds. Now my only problem is I only have one of these, and this is on a disc graph force, which is actually a distance driver. So my plan is we're going to throw into the net first with the distance driver to get the speed down, then we're going to throw a putter and see how that compares for the distance at the lower speeds. Leave in the comments anything else you want me to try, because I'm sure I'll be back. We're going to go 20, 30 and 40 just for fun. So first of all, 20 with the TechDisc. So hopefully that was a 20-mile-an-hour throw. It wasn't, that was 32. Let's try that again. Mainly just wrist really. So that was 23.9, so really super gentle. So that was 22 meters, more or less the same as the TechDisc. Still going from standstill. But on 29.6, I know the kind of power. Again, not an ideal launch angle, but we'll go see how far that one's gone. 29 meters, not an awful lot further, but it is further. And finally, 40 miles an hour into the net first. 38.7, so bang on. Right, we hit a tree. That was 42 meters, not too shabby. Probably could have gone further out the tree and a better launch angle.
Yeah, I didn't bother to redo the 41.
But plenty of scope for another video. Leave in the comments what you want me to try next. Probably focus on launch angle, nose angle, all those kind of things. Not worry about those today, just raw speed.
So I guess overall we can conclude speed does actually equal distance. But I guess it's a little bit more to it than that. And to prove my point that there's definitely other factors involved, here's me ripping my putter almost as far as some of the high speed drives I did with the TechDisc driver. So yeah, let me know what you think. I'm well aware this isn't the most scientific way in the world. I've tried to keep it fairly good. And I apologise for using both imperial and metric in one graph. You know, disc golf is definitely a funny one. So if you haven't already, please go like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
This force is not like a force. This is probably the least forcey force I have ever thrown. Which is probably why it's on a TechDisc rather than a real disc.